So if you forget everything I have said today, please remember this image. I cannot pronounce his name very properly, but he's a famous psychologist. He came up with this concept called the flow. It's been used many times. I looked up his paper and he's been cited close to 2,000 times. His paper has been cited 2,000 times, not downloaded, but just cited to more than 2,000 times. So you should check it. He describes a point. He calls it's an optimal experience. He says that this represents increasing difficulty for any activity. It's applicable to games as well. And then here also an increasing skill needed to accomplish that activity. It's described here. So here the skill needed is too easy. You don't need much of skills. And then here the skill needed is too hard. You need a lot of skills to achieve. The level of difficulty is too hard in this side. So he says a game shouldn't even go like this straight line. It should go in a way like this. Not out of this boundary where the person finds it just hard enough. Not too hard, but hard enough. Yeah, hard enough. And not too easy, but easy enough. This is the sweet point that most serious game designers, developers want a player to have when they play the game. Because if the time or skill it takes to play the game at this point is up here, it needs so much skill to get started in the game, you already lose a lot of your audience. Those that are able to achieve that skill start, but maybe they won't stay for a long time playing that game. They will fall out. So eventually the uptake of the game and playing of the game and therefore achieving your intervention goals will be harder to do. All designers seek to keep players within this optimal game flow. It's applicable to many areas of life, even in business. So if you have time, please Google his paper and check it out. I'm sure you'll learn a lot. So there are two concepts when we talk about games for doing anything other than entertainment. There's also something called serious games. I mentioned it a little bit. In academia, we like to define things very well. We like to have good definition of what we are talking about, so that we can, refer to it or describe it very well. So, a serious game is an experience designed using game mechanics and game thinking to educate individuals in specific content domain. So this is one of the definitions that is given for serious games. You can think about it. Many people who have written about gamification and serious game think that serious games and gamification are very different things. They can be categorized differently. But Professor Kebb thinks differently. He thinks that gamification and serious games overlap in many ways. So in the next class, you will learn how these two are different, how serious games and gamification are different. But I would like to share you his opinion Serious games and gamification have the same objective: to solve problems, motivate people, promote behavior change using game-based thinking and techniques. Both of them, serious games and gamification. Serious games tend to use games within a well-defined game space, like computers, other computer applications such as Wii or those kind of things. Those are serious games. On the other hand, gamification seems to use games outside such a confined space, like for example running, right? So when you play a serious game, you sit down and, well, you can be standing or doing anything, but it's within a confined environment, computer application environment. But a gamification usually requires you to be outside of a certain game environment or interact between a game environment and the real world environment. Then he also argues why these two words can be used interchangeably. But next week you'll hear how we can separate the two. So this is part of my final slides. Why is gamification important? Well, it's gaining popularity, and the power of the digital age, yes, is enhancing gamification a lot. But it's very important to notice that you actually often don't need some technology for gamification, like the country's example. So you don't need some kind of technology necessarily. But because of technology, so what technology does is it just increases the distribution and the scale that we can apply serious games or gamification. And then also it harnesses the advancement in connectedness, such as in social media. They also have a genuine potential to create unique learning experiences. These are some figures outside the health environment. They say that on average, a video game player has been playing games, particularly in the US, for more than 12 years. 26% of people playing games are over the age of 50. I don't know. And in the United States, game software generate over 10 billion US dollars per year. 67% of American households play computer games. In the United Kingdom, they spend 200 million on games. France spends 220, and Japan spends quite a lot on games per year. So gamification offers an interesting opportunity to engage audiences that are not necessarily willing to be engaged. At times experiencing information overload, like we saw in the one of the first slides that I gave. You can check out this website. They say that the world's 2,000 biggest companies will use gamification by 2019. 70% of them. Unfortunately, gamification is only 25% technology, and the rest, 75%, is more behavior, more psychology based. And gamification actually is applied to more than just health. There are other areas that gamification is usually applied to. But in this, maybe I'd like to share with you some of the applications of serious games, particularly in health, that you can go and really check out for yourself and read about. This is one of I consider to be one of the iconic papers in serious games or gamification. It was published in Pediatrics. It's a well-ranked journal. It's designed for cancer kids with cancer, and one of their main findings was that the kids that were randomized to play a game showed improvement in adherence compared to the kids who were not randomized to the game. So they were more adherent to treatment regime for cancer. So you can check out this paper. Very interesting. It was published, I think, in 2008, very, very early. And I think professors from Stanford worked on this paper. And more recently, in 2013, there's a paper published in the Journal of International AIDS Society, again a very well-ranked journal in HIV and AIDS. Its title is Reducing Shame in a Game That Predicts HIV Risk Reduction for Young Adults, Men Who Have Sex with Men. It's also a randomized trial delivered nationally over the internet. I also encourage you to check out this paper. One of their main findings was that exposure to a serious game intervention led to immediate shame reduction for those in the serious game intervention compared to those that were not in the group. So these papers show some early successes in serious games for changing behavior or improving certain health outcomes in what we are probably working on. There's also this Journal of Medical Internet Research, serious games. And actually today, this morning, we just had good news. They accepted one of our papers, so I'm very happy. It's a very good way to start this class. So, it's a serious journal of serious games. Is a multidisciplinary journal devoted to computer, web, and mobile application that incorporates elements of gaming. But what I want to underline here is that it's multidisciplinary. I think the area of serious games, mostly, you cannot do it by yourself. I don't think it's possible to anyone to do it by themselves. You need a very elaborate team of experts, psychologists, statisticians, experts in game design, in project management. Many components are needed to come together in a multidisciplinary fashion. So please check out this publication, this journal. One of the first and one of the most famous in this area. Yeah, one of, not the only. Then there's also this one. It's Games for Health Journal. Unfortunately, Kyoto University, it's not open access, and Kyoto University does not subscribe to this journal. So we cannot access this journal yet. It's not new, but relatively new journal. They focus on applications of game technology for improving physical, mental, or well-being. So you can check it out. Sometimes they have some free articles in these journals. So feel free to check them out. You might learn a thing or two and share with us what you've learned. All right, so looking forward to next week. Thank you.
Thank you very much.